What's happening, peeps? Take the specs off, man, so we've got to get serious. What's been going on? I've been getting trolled! Can't believe it, man. I'm getting the absolute peggish ripped right out me on social media. Who'd have thought I'd have seen the day? Oh, sorry. It's been happening since day one. Nothing new there. But aye, for those of you that might have listened to it, I think in total the 1,000 of you, which is great. I say 1,000. 1,000 accumulated streams for streams there for my album Rebel Without a Clue. Came out before New Year, can't remember the date. But aye, it was a wee project I sat and made in this studio from scratch. Wrote all the tunes, recorded them, produced them, and it was just a wee project for me to sink my teeth into. It was during the time where I was still working at my job, and I always go through a limbo period. I don't really date as much now because I'm always really busy. In terms of creative endeavours, I was always, see if I would get a project completed, it would be like, right, what's next? What else can I focus on? Because I need something to focus my mind on. So I remember one night shift I started kind of getting a wee jingle on the guitar, and I was like, that's a wee something there, like a wee riff. So I made a tune out of it. I took it home and I was like, wait a minute, I've got all this recording equipment that I've had in my house for donkeys that I've barely used. So I recorded the wee riff and I was like, I'm going to make a wee tune out of that, put some drums there, and it was just something to mess about with. And I done that, and I just made a little wee freestyle at the top of it, and it was fun. See, for everything I do, I have the most fun making music when it goes well. So I done that, and the plan was I was going to release that as a single, I was going to do a video and all that, and then I just went, nah, I don't know what stopped me, but then I went on to the next tune, and the next tune, it was, those of you who might have heard it, Up in Shrewsbury. I was on Banged Up, the Channel 4 programme, and I done that with a guy called Liam Meredith, aka Mezza, boy from Bristol, brilliant guy. Shout out Liam. And the two of us wrote a wee tune whilst in there, and that's what it was called, Up in Shrewsbury. It was like a wee hook he would rap and all that kind of thing. So I was like to myself, why don't I just record that? So that was the next one, recorded that, and it just became a wee project where I've got so many tunes that I've wrote on the guitar, and I hadn't recorded them, and I was like, you know what, I'll just record these tunes. And the way I seen it, it was merely a process where I could just have fun, learn the process of producing, recording my own stuff, putting beats behind it, taking my time, because times in the past where I've went into studios with producers, a lot of them have tried to take it their own way. Of course, a lot of them have got more skill and experience in the game than I have, so they hear something and they think something else applies to it, whereas they're trying to get what they think all day best possible way it can do is mainstream. So fair play to them, their heart's in the right place, they've got the right reasons, but a lot of them just, I felt as if we're trying to take it their way. Well, it's not about that for me. I'm not really, as much as I'd love to release a tune and it done well mainstream, it's not really the goal for me. I enjoy making music for the purpose of making music. Ever since I picked up the guitar and wrote my first song, it was always about me. It's probably the most selfish enterprise I do, because it really doesn't incorporate or account for anybody else. It's all about me. Even if I'm writing a tune about something I've done to somebody else, it's about me, because it's me channeling my emotions. And there has been times where I've wrote tunes about people when I've done them wrong, or there's certain lyrics that apply to certain scenarios where I've been wrong, but it's all about my own emotional expression. So that's all really music is for me. So as I say, I built up this collection of tunes, and I always wanted to release an album. So the plan was, I'll release an album, and I'll put that out, and that was the plan. So I began to amass this collection of tunes. Two of them was written on Banged Up, one was with Harvey. A lot of people liked it. I had to make this tune, it was called Free the Guys. If you've not heard it, go and listen to it. Do me a favour. But this tune, I get dubbed up this wee guy called Harvey. It's H-R-V-Y. He's a wee Justin Bieber for England, essentially. Wee pop star, right? Really nice guy. And I knew, I was like, this is my only opportunity. Me and him are never going to cross paths again. And of course, you're getting recorded, televised. So I was like, right, let's write a tune. I'm getting as much as I can at this moment. So we wrote a tune. A lot of people liked it. It was dead catchy. Didn't really make the cut. Actually, the chorus, the hook made the cut for the actual TV show, and they cut my verse the minute I was about to start rapping it, so they just obliterated that for the programme. So, is what it is. But I had that tune, and it was one of the producers that suggested, why don't you try producing that? And I says to them, and I was like, how am I going to get his voice? How am I going to get him to do vocals and that? And they're like, why don't you lift it for the programme? So what I done was, I was like, right, here we go, I'll try my best. I went and took the vocals for the actual TV show and put it into a chorus, and I think I pulled it off quite well, given what it was. In my experience producing, I'm not an experienced producer, so I felt as if I'd done a decent enough job. And that's this tune a lot of people seem to like. I say a lot of people, a few people seem to like. So it was all just kind of songs, and I was trying to stick to like a theme. It was like the Scottish hip hop type thing, and I always wanted to do something different. I don't really listen to that drill type stuff. There's some songs I do like. See, for me, the sound just doesn't date for me. And I'm talking about in a general manner with any type of music. I don't just like music because of the sound. There's certain artists that stand out to me because they're a step ahead of the rest. It's no drill as such, but Dave, when you talk about the kind of English rap, he stood out to me. So he was different. He was playing the piano, his lyrics were great, they were deep. That kind of stuff, there's only so many artists that kind of do that. And as much as I'm not trying to say I'm the same level as Dave or anything like that, but I always wanted to create something different. I was never interested in creating the same stuff. There was times in the past I tried it, but it wasn't me. I was just trying too hard to please an audience. And if you ever listen to any Rick Rubin, and you should, if you're a creative, or listen to Rick Rubin, he's a producer that's worked with like Jay-Z, Linkin Park. He's massive. And he talks about the creative process, where the audience should be the last consideration in that process. The audience shouldn't even be considered one iota. And that's a process I've tried to adopt. And it's hard being on social media, because you're on social media and you're thinking, right, I want to get views, what will get the views? And you're constantly caught in that juxtaposition. You're stuck between, right, what will get the views, but what am I doing for myself? And what I've found is, right, and this is a thing you need to kind of have a word with yourself and say to myself, right, what do I want here? Do I want to just do views? And at the start, I did always wanted all the views and all the people, all the attention, but it's really meaningless. It means nothing. What does it actually mean? There's people watching your stuff, aye, but if you can do both, where you're creating something that's meaningful to you and it gets a lot of attention, that's fantastic. Very, very hard to do, I think, for the most part, for most people. So what I need to do is make a choice. Am I going to try and make stuff that will get attention, or am I going to make stuff that I like, that I enjoy doing? And I'm leaning towards, of course, the stuff that I enjoy doing. That's a process in itself, and I think you kind of need to navigate to find that. And that's when you create your best work. It's when you don't consider the audience. That is when the audience are attracted. Unless it's Rebel Without a Clue. And there was periods where I was like, right, this is different. Nobody's making music like this. I just wanted to come out and shock people. And see, when I'm talking about that there, I say, no, I don't consider the audience, but there was a part of me, the audience was involved. But for me, I've just kind of realised that I love the process of creating. See, releasing and all that, I couldn't really care for it. No anymore, because I've learned through experience, the stuff you think is going to be great never does as well as you think it does. I've no control of the public's reception or anything I do, even when I act. Before, I always wanted to see the finished article and that, and it is good to see yourself back, but now, I act for the love of acting. See, premieres and stuff like that, I'm like, it's done for me. That part, don't get me wrong, if I'm free and there's a premiere on, I'll jump along and catch up with people and have a wee event of it, but it's no... As soon as I've done my piece is done. So that's a mindset I've kind of adopted at the time of creation. So the initial plan was to release Rebel Without a Clue as an album, because I heard somebody say the phrase, I was a rebel without a clue, at an NA meeting I was at, Narcotics Anonymous, and I thought, that's a heavy good line. I took a wee note of it. I'm going to take a note. I'm going to put that somewhere. And lo and behold, I thought that was quite a great summarisation of who I was at the time, a rebel without a clue. So that was going to be the name of the album. It was going to get released, and then somebody gave me the idea. Scratch Card Wednesday was. They said, release them as singles, just release a single and a music video for every one of them. And I thought, that's a good idea. I've got all the equipment. I can do that, and it kind of gets me music videos out there. I done 2. I done Scottish and I done Dreams of the Young Teams, and it was just, see, trying to find the time. It's one thing, I've got all the equipment. A lot of the time I was struggling to get somebody to hold it. No, anybody can hold a camera, but when you're making music videos, you want certain things to be done, like certain movement in the camera as such. Obviously, if you don't use cameras, you'll have no idea what I'm talking about. There's things called aperture and like ISO, which is basically a balance. You'll get settings on a camera, you get them on your phone. ISO is essentially fake light, right? So you turn your ISO up in the camera, and the fake light, it'll basically produce fake light to the image, but the more you use, the more it kind of messes with the image and it ends up looking pure, that kind of, it's called noise. See, when it's all kind of flaky. You'll have your aperture, which is, you maybe see here, I've not got my specs on, so everything's blurry, but if you've ever been watching an interview with somebody in their own camera, facing the camera, and they're in focus, but the background is blurry, that's aperture. And there's things like shutter speed, so there's a lot of moving parts essentially. See, if you go into, if you've got an iPhone or like a kind of a modern smartphone, see if you go into the camera settings, you'll probably find all these settings, they'll all be set to auto. And what auto does is like, it'll adjust according to the light that's coming into the camera. So if I'm in the shade, it will light up to the ISO to a certain degree, but then if I turn and there's a bit of light, it'll constantly change it, so it'll mess with your image. So working a camera is learning how to balance all these things and how to make them work in certain environments. What I compare it to, right, the difference between holding a camera and being able to use a camera is the difference between driving a car and being able to start the engine. We could all put somebody in the motor of a car and they could start the engine. Not everybody can drive it. You need to learn that. So that's essentially the difference between holding a camera and using a camera. So I can kind of direct people and set cameras up certain ways, but look, shout out Glasgow by Drones, like he's great with the camera, but it's getting people's availability, and he does all the tricks and moves about and all that stuff, and I'm like, you're great, you're the man for it. Some people just kind of stone with it, and that's fine because they don't know, they don't really watch this kind of stuff. And I've always liked that aspect, that element of having my own creative control over things. Like everything I do is me, myself, and I admit that's probably acted as a barrier to me releasing consistent content. You'll probably notice that there wasn't a podcast out last week. It's very, very hard when you're running a production business, you're editing other people's content, and you're trying to balance out your own content and tap with that. Plus I'm editing a documentary too. Anybody that doesn't edit, understand that any type of content you watch, the filming of it is probably 20% of the work. The real work is in the edit. But it's not until you do that you realise how much work it actually is. And my apologies to my old producer, my good friend Matt. He worked on the first few podcasts, and I couldn't, there was always issues with the podcast in terms of like time, there was problems popping up, and I just couldn't get my head around it. I was like, why is there always an issue? I don't get this. And I was quite verbal about that, and I just thought he was incompetent. He probably was to a certain degree, you know what I mean? But once I started editing, I realised, right, okay, right, this is difficult, and it throws up difficulties to you. I use Adobe Premiere Pro. For all you editing geeks, you'll know what I'm talking about. For all these that aren't editing geeks, you'll know have a clue. And sometimes it teaches you to be a better editor, unintentionally, because there'll be things that go wrong and you're just like, what is happening here? And then you'll figure a way around it, and then it'll come up the same problem, but you need to find a different solution because that last solution didn't work. Essentially, it's a process, right, is what I'm trying to say. So I've developed my skills to a certain point where video editing, pretty competent, pretty confident. I can produce tunes, but I am no Rick Rubin, let's say so. But the tunes I made, I was pretty confident in. I listened to them, I liked them, and I think they were pretty good. You know what I mean? So, eventually, it got between a few months for my last single, and I was like, right, I'm struggling to find the time to release these singles. They're sitting gathering dust. I'll just release the album, right? I looked to try and get somebody to make me an album cover. I couldn't get really hear back for somebody, and shout out Gary Fraser. He's like, I'll make you something up in Canva. And I was like, mate, I don't really want to just dummy something up. Like, this is a bit of a body of work that I'm going to release this and it'll be out. There's a lot of I've put a lot into this, my heart and my soul, I'd say. Whether people think it's great or not. And I was like, I'd rather just pay somebody to do it like a professional one. Obviously, I explained it to him like, in a way, it didn't seem as if I was being rude. And he was like, I know, I totally understand. But I was kind of stuck and I was like, I can't get anybody to do this for me. So what I done was, I ended up going in Canva. I was like, I'll have a wee look, see what we can do. And I had an image in my mind is like me with the mug shot and all that kind of stuff, because most of the tunes I talk about being in the jail, don't I? So I talk about, I'd say 25% of the time I talk about the jail like intentionally. The rest of the time people are asking me about it. I can't help it. You know what I mean? So I made up an album cover on Canva and I thought it looked pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. So drummed that up and then set the release date, and I think it was sometime between Christmas and New Year. It might have been the 30th, the 31st. I can't tell you, it was the 31st. Want to know why? Because I had a song called The Fear, and I thought this is a great song to release like, for the bells, because people will be waking up with the fear and they'll relate to the tune and that. And I really liked the song. I wrote the hook for The Fear. You got the fear, you got the fear. And I wrote it for an advert I done for somebody about 6 months ago, and I really liked the hook, and I was like, I'm going to use that for a tune. So I made The Fear, and I thought, this is a great song, I really like this. This is one of the best tunes I've done. I went out with Ryan for Glasgow Drones, and we went out to Shawlands, and we just shot about there, because it was the nearest place to us. So like, grab a camera. We had the drone, man, but it was a bit tricky with the winds and stuff. So went and done that, and then the plan was to get it all scheduled for the New Year's Eve release. So the music video was to coincide with the album release. The Fear was to be like the lead single off the album. In total there were like 9 tracks. And of course, when I released Scottish and Dreams of the Young Teams, they were the first 2 tracks off the album. Scottish, right? I released that. I made a wee video playing the guitar, and it was Scottish, singing about being Scottish and about all these Scottish people using English accents and rapping, how it was ridiculous and all that. It's about culture, right? I recorded that on my phone and put it on social media about a year, 2 years ago, and people were loving it. People were sharing it, and I was actually surprised. I was like, wow, man. So I was like, right, this is a safe bet. I'll record Scottish, and I made it, and I really liked it, and I was like, right, that'll be my lead single. And I released it, and I took 2 clips for social media, and honestly, I got absolutely slated for it. Like, I've released a lot of different types of content in my time, right, as a content creator. I've impersonated pedos, I've dressed up as women, I've dressed up as the police, I've slagged the Queen, I've done it all, right? This has been the single most hated piece of content I have ever made. I get dogs abuse. I got it tight, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to read some of the comments, right? So the first video, it got 120,000 views and 156 comments. Let me read a couple of them. This makes me want to wipe my memory, get rid of my accent, and sever all ties with Scotland. This is what happens when cunts have shite pals that don't tell them the truth about how shite their music is. It was filmed in Queen's Park, right? So a guy commented, I'm never going back to Queen's Park now, cheers mate. And then he laughed at his own comment. No rush to release it, my man. Put it back. Anyone get the English version? Somebody commented with a gif, are my ears bleeding? Don't know what's worse, your voice or the shots of Queen's Park. That's a double slag in there. Had to put it on mute so I could read the comment in peace. Same. Sending hate from Scotland. So, that's 156 comments. I think about 6 of them might have been bots. The rest was absolute abuse. So, I made 2 social media videos for that song, and they were very similar in their reaction. People were saying I was cancelled. I was like, what is going on here? Right. I accept my content, my music, anything I make isn't for everybody. I accept I'm not the greatest singer, rapper, whatever you want to call it. I accept my music is different for the norm. But what is there to hate about? Like, literally, and what I know what it is, right? I understand people see me on some sort of pedestal because I'm probably kind of established on social media to a certain degree where people know who I'm a, right? And that's not been big headed, that's just the reality of the situation. And I think when people will see you up there and you make something that's quite not up to par, they immediately seek to tear you down. And there's probably about 20 odds people that have been initially like, what's going on? And I feel it's like, I think, see when people are on social media and they see what's an easy target, I'm not saying I'm an easy target, but what an open goal is such, they'll take the shot. And what happens is in these comment sections where a lot of people comment, not because they hate it, just because they want somebody to laugh at their comment. Listen, I've done it myself. I used to troll the police quite a lot. I actually got one of my biggest achievements about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, being was that I got blocked off the Police Scotland Twitter because I kept tweeting them and giving them abuse, and I was proud of it. Obviously, I'm not proud of that anymore. I'm not that guy. But listen, I've trolled, so I can take it. And the thing is, right, at least people are listening. 120,000 views. That's 120,000 people listening to my tune. Regardless whether they hated it or not, they heard it. So, the thing is, right, see, for a lot of people, this is what keeps them away from doing social media, because it's the fear of getting absolutely slaughtered and hated on. And that's why a lot of people don't put themselves out there. It's the fear of what other people think, what other people might say. And once upon a time, years ago, I was probably the same like that. I remember I done a gig, I was fresh out of jail in 2016, and I'd been spent that full sentence writing tunes and that, because people go, this is another thing, people are commenting like, oh, everybody has to start somewhere. Let's start somewhere. I've been writing tunes for about 10 years, kid is on. On and off. But I get released in 2016, I done a recall in Billini, and I spent most of that sentence writing songs. So the plan was to get out and hit the road and be this singer-songwriter and that kind of thing. And I got out and hit the Charlie and become a raving gearhead. But I remember I played at an open mic one Saturday, and somebody videoed me playing a tune. They put it on social media, and I think because I was battering the gear at the time, it's weird when you're pure hammering the Charlie, you care what people think. I don't know why that is. It makes you paranoid and all that stuff, and gives you anxiety, and I just didn't like it, and I asked them to take it down. I was like, no, I didn't like it. I didn't like being exposed like that. How times have changed is what I must say. But so I can understand why people don't want to put themselves out there, but it's like a muscle. You put yourself out there once, you just keep doing it and you work at it. When I started off in 2020, it was just by pure accident. And it's strange, it's like people don't hate my music, they just hate my original music, my serious music. I say they hate it, it's the social media trolls, that's all it is. I used to, for those of you that haven't been here for the start, that don't remember, I first kind of built up my following on social media. I built up the following for this podcast, and that was due to me doing parodies of famous tunes. The first one I done was called I'm on a Bender, and it was Jerry Cinnamon's tune, She's a Belter. And that's all I done. Every week I would post a parody, and people were loving it. And I posted a tune about Nicola Sturgeon. It was an original tune, but kind of funny-ish, about the lockdown, Nicola Sturgeon and all that. And that was the first thing that ever went viral for me. So, people loved my music, and then it's strange. It's very strange how the tide turns. It's almost like a wrestling crowd. You know what I mean? It's like they love you on your side and they boo you. And it's that way as well. I must just be getting too big for my boots. I must just be that amazing that when I do something that isn't as amazing as the other things I do, that people try and tear me down. But the thing is, right, you can view it from whatever lens you want. You can look at it and go, oh my God, I'm never making music again. I'm looking for ways to capitalise on the hate. How can I make them hate me more? Because here's a golden tip for you, right? It's very, very difficult to make something that people like. It's near enough impossible to intentionally make something that people are going to love. It's very easy to make something that people hate, especially if they already hate it. You following me? It goes back to that audience thing. I could write 10 tunes that people could despise. I could draw that hate. I could get the eyes in me. They people in their comments, it would be very hard for me to turn the tide for them to like it in that release. And that's the thing. A lot of people would say, no, I'm not going to release anything else. I'm not doing this again. I find it actually quite funny. The thing is, right, see the thing with trolls, I don't know what people, there are some people that just write stuff to either to get a reaction, positively or negatively. Some people write something, so I write it back, I get the flyers, don't bam me up. And you get some people that are really miserable, that don't even take any time to be creative or funny or that. They just say, just die. It's just pure venom, right? If they're in that position, I can't take nothing away from them, nor give them anything. I'm pretty sound. But I read the comments and push myself laughing at some of the funny ones. Like some of them I'm howling at because I'm actually, this is brilliant. See, with doing the music though, it is a bit different because you're vulnerable in the sense where music is an artistic expression which almost demands vulnerability. Unless you're looking at your rap type music where it's all bravado and ego and boasting and nonsense for half of it. A lot of it's untrue. I fell into that trap myself, talk about I'm the big I am, when in actual fact I'm no. And that's where you really find out who you are. If you're writing any form of music, look within. Who are you really? Try it. If you're that way inclined, you like listening to music, try writing a tune. It's a very hard thing to do, but what I would encourage Andy is to try it. Nobody's going to hear it, because this is the thing as well. Nobody's going to ever stop me for releasing content but me, in any way, shape and form, whatever that content is. But somebody might be watching that and going, well, I was going to release a tune, but look at the hate he's getting, I'm going to get slaughtered. So it's more a shame for anybody else. At the end of the day, I can't control what people hate. I can only control, I can't control what people hate. I can't control the fact that people hate my music. What I can do but is get them to hate it even more. That's what I meant to say. So I'm actually sitting thinking of this, because what we can do is, right, we can get caught up in all the victim complexes and the poor me's and all this kind of stuff. Argue up. Or you can find opportunities and the obstacles. A lot of people are dangling a golden carrot, because we can sit here and wait for the perfect opportunity. See, if you're waiting for the perfect opportunity, newsflash, it's never going to come. You need to go and find it. You need to attract it. And sometimes you need to get creative. Sometimes you need to be spontaneous. Sometimes you need to take risks. This isn't anything new. This is what a lot of these YouTube short chanters and your Instagram reels, motivational speakers are all saying. And they're all saying this kind of stuff. And that can apply to any facet of your life. Doesn't matter if it's content creation or whatever. That's a process as well to learn. And that's what I've been doing with my life lately. And everything all kind of works in with each other. As I say, I had a massive victim complex where, see that, the trolls in the comments, that would have crumbled me a couple of years ago. To the point where I would have just said, nah, I'm not doing that, I'm not putting myself out there again. And it would have probably happened to most people. I think it's brilliant, man. I feel like Kaz Milligan for a day. But I'll be honest, it was surprising to start with. Then I released Dreams of the Young Teams, and I thought, right, because the thing is, see Dreams of the Young Teams and Scottish, I had put the both of them in my social media, playing the guitar to the camera. That was it. And people loved the both of them. They got a really good response. Released them as singles, get slated, get absolutely caned. So I was like, right, here, there's a pattern emerging here. So when I was releasing The Fear as the lead single, I was like, right, I hope people hate this, because I want people to be engaging with it, interacting with it. So when I released it, I was kind of like, right, come on. And to start, it was a bit slow, and I was like, right, go get the finger it. And it eventually came. The hate started coming. The hate is great, and I love it. I feed on it. And the thing is, as well, I'm quite spiritual, right? I believe in a lot of things. I don't believe anything happens by accident. In terms of me releasing 3 tunes that I was quite, I felt a sense of vulnerability with, that I felt a certain connection to release them and get absolutely annihilated by the public, I think there's something in that. I think that is leading me to something. And I remember listening to a podcast lately, it was on Modern Wisdom, Chris Williams, and he was talking to a guy who says he aims to try and get at least 3 big failures a year. He doesn't set out to get failures, but it feels as if he doesn't get any failures, he's not reaching high enough. And looking at my album, it kind of flopped, didn't it? I hate saying it flopped, right? In terms of like a mainstream acceptance, it flopped. It didn't do really great views, but that wasn't really my intention. If it did get good views, that'd have been great. But my intention was to just record it and release it, and it's out, it's done, and have it out there. But part of me looked at that and I was like, maybe it will do well and that kind of thing. So I've put that out and I've put some time into it, and it's not really returned me anything after the back of its release. So you could almost say that has been a failure, which is great. That means I'm aiming high. I've made something myself and put myself out there. That's a massive thing. How many people would sit in their own house, record tunes they've wrote, produce it themselves and stick it out? Especially somebody that's got a following like mine, where you're already on a kind of public platform where you're up there to getting pulled off your high horse. I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world. Bring on the hate. I buzz off it, man. I've got a fetish for the hated, man. But trolls, you're not going to get at me. I'm just, what can I say? I'm some boy. But aye, that's all for me. I'm going to love yous and leave yous, and hope you have a blessed Sunday, people. Like, subscribe, and don't get wide. Catches.